The original Half-Life and its respective engine, Gold Source, has powered numerous iconic games. Aside from classic Valve titles like Half-Life and Counter-Strike, it would also be used for third-party titles like James Bond 007 Nightfire, Cry of Fear, USS Darkstar, and Natural Selection, the latter being a mod developed by Unknown Worlds, the team which would eventually go on to create the hit survival game Subnautica. In the space that is the Source Engine community, there are notable teams and groups that have created successful projects. Crowbar Collective is an excellent example of this, as they were the team behind the critically acclaimed, fan-made Half-Life remake, Black Mesa. There is a lesser-known team that developed equally notable projects, including one that to this day is lost to time, being the England-based Maverick Developments. Founded by Tony Newton and Phil Daniels in 2000, Maverick was responsible for mods like Drug Barons, Redemption, and Wanted, with Redemption becoming popular enough for them to be hired by Valve for multiple projects. One of their most notable contributions was their work in mapping the training mission for the original Counter-Strike, maps which are unfortunately no longer playable on the Steam version due to their removal upon retail release. Beyond their work for Valve and on their own games, they also developed one other game, a project which was less a game and more of a tool, and has been unplayable for more than 2 decades. Tudis. Without mincing words, Tudis was described as an interactive workplace, developed with the intent of using the Gold Source engine as a tool to teach workplace safety. The idea for the project was thought up by Newton, while he was sitting in a coffee shop in Santa Monica during E3 2001. This vision came after the heels of Maverick Development's work on Counter-Strike, Redemption, and Wanted, when Newton thought about how Half-Life's engine could be used to create, quote, real spaces that could be used to turn safety training into a game. Per the Tudis website, using it would add real value to training, not only teaching the fundamentals of crucial health and safety issues in good working practice, but also actually placing the user in real situations with complete safety, while knowledge and understanding is tested and assessed. Newton's concept revolved around creating maps in the Source engine that would act as virtual mirrors of real-life workplaces, with each level full of related workplace hazards. The key gameplay mechanic for a player, or learner in this instance, was to explore the workplace and identify any hazards, ultimately culminating into a total score based on how many hazards were correctly identified. Originally, the project's title was fairly uninspired, given its description as a workplace training package, going by the name Virtual Workplace. It's unknown exactly when development started, but the majority of the work on the project was completed on a licensed version of the Gold Source engine in 2002, leading up to its release in September of the same year. During the development of Virtual Workplace, Newton would leave Maverick Developments, and the product would be renamed to TUTUS. At the time he left, a working prototype had already been developed, and had seen its first real-life use case when a local pub trained their kitchen staff with the program. You might be thinking that the name Tudis is unusual, and you wouldn't be alone, because even Newton himself described it as a strange name choice. It's unique enough that if you enter the name into a search engine, it just returns results for tutus instead. Translating it provides a clear result, given that Tudis is a Latin word. If you translate it to English, you learn that it means safe or secure. A fitting, but still nonetheless strange title for a game about workplace safety. The base game contained 11 modules, or training levels. Each module corresponded to a specific industry, like construction, catering, industrial, and office, with each module presumably being a single map, given the listing of Building Site 1 and Building Site 2. While little information about the game exists online, there is a video that shows the game in action.
In a TUTUS module, you're answering questions relevant to the industry. Regulations that govern health and safety on construction sites. I wonder if Bob got the lottery numbers last night. And you are constantly on the lookout for hazards.
Ah, damn! Oops, sorry. Ah yes, you're quite right. I should be wearing a hard hat. Can't imagine what I was thinking.
Is the boss in today, or is he out golfing again?
This is unfortunately the only actual video of the gameplay, but it showcases the process of not only answering questions relevant to the particular industry, but also identifying the hazards that may prove harmful, like the brick falling on the construction worker's head. The video depicts Construction Site 2, as indicated by the text in the module summary at the end of the level. The video also showcases how Housing Site 2 is set in a housing development. and with screenshots on the game's website, we know that Construction Site 1, or Building Site 1 rather, depicts the construction of something larger than a few houses, with the presence of a large crane and a metal facade in one screenshot. The plumbing and scaffolding modules only have one screenshot each. Given they are part of the construction industry, it's likely these modules were also largely made with the intent of identifying and recognizing solutions to hazards in both plumbing and scaffolding work. Seemingly no screenshots exist of the electrician module. This is where I should note that many of the images and resources on the TUTUS website are no longer available, hence there is a lot of missing content. This in turn has forced me to see the ad for hugedomains.com more than any human should. The clearest picture we have of any of the TUTUS modules is the office module, to a point where you can even play it. Kind of. On the website there is a page labeled as Bit of Fun, which upon opening it will present you a tab with the title TUTUS Fun Page. This page is essentially a demo for the game, and allows you to play a very simple flash game where you click on objects that you deem to be a potential hazard, with the game returning an explanation as to why said object is a hazard. This flash game is set in the office module, which is somewhat self-explanatory. In screenshots of the level, you can see multiple interaction points in just one room, and judging by the flash game and the existing screenshots, there are likely multiple rooms in this office setting. There are also factory and warehouse modules, with their respective screenshots on screen now. The factory module was likely intended to instruct users on safety in, you guessed it, a factory. With available screenshots from the module, we can assume this was largely focused on heavy machinery and industrial operations. The warehouse module likely had a similar set of topics, but would be more focused on concepts like lifting procedures and forklift operations. It would seemingly also focus on loading and unloading, given that one screenshot from this module depicts not only the interior, but also the exterior of said warehouse. Catering is a module that really makes me wish there was more information about this game. Only one screenshot exists of this module, and as you've likely noticed with the rest of the screenshots, it is extremely low quality. It's difficult to make out specific details, but we can assume this module is more focused on food handling given the indicators on what appears to be a pantry shelf and on a kitchen counter. The last module that existed in the base game was a training module for the game itself. No screenshots of this exist, but given that the concept of the game is fairly simple, we're probably not missing out on much. There is one other unidentified screenshot that exists, depicting what appears to be a piece of meat over a fire in front of a medieval castle, with some animals just in the front of it. While I was able to identify essentially every screenshot of the game, I genuinely have no idea what this was for. For all I know, there could have been a medieval crossover. At some point following the release of TUTUS, Maverick would partner with the marketing company YTKO to create a company called WorkShield, which as a company would be selling and marketing business training products worldwide, with their first and seemingly only product being TUTUS. In addition to the base modules, clients were also able to purchase additional modules for £99 each, a rather significant price hike given the price of the base 11 modules was only £399. These also give us valuable information as to what some of the base modules would have covered. It's unknown how many additional modules were sold, but we do know that their purposes varied rather significantly. 3 of them acted as extensions of the base game, and we can assume that their descriptions reflected what a user would do in the base game modules, with the first of these being named Warehouse 2, which instructed users on using equipment, safe working loads, performing maintenance, operating forklifts, and storage procedures in a warehouse. The second extension, Catering 2, involved food safety and food handling, and was targeted primarily towards people who handle foods, like chefs and servers. It went in depth with topics like pest control, accidents, cleaning schedules, illness, PPE, food prep, and temperatures. The third extension was named Office 2, which was more concerned with office procedures rather than simply just safety, with topics like employee rights, office safety, holiday entitlement, risk assessments, eye tests, and work experience. This module was primarily directed towards office managers, hence why the topics are so niche. You would also have the option to purchase the Bar Person's National Certificate, which would instead come with 4 modules for the price of 1. Unlike the base game and its extensions, this module did not have any hazards in it, and was used for the purpose of covering all of the British Institute of Innkeeping Bar Person's National Certificate questions. These modules enable the user to train and learn the questions before taking the telephone test. The only other module available for purchase was the 10 Golden Rules of Dismissing, which included 2 modules for the price of 1. Similar to the Bar Persons module, this one did not include any hazards, and would instead take a lighthearted look at an aspect of employment law in the area of employee dismissal. In the style of a comical video with a dinosaur-type boss, the modules use humor to relay the key messages of this topic. This right here is what makes me really sad that there is so little info about the game online, because I would have loved to know how a dinosaur-type boss would help teach a user about workplace dismissal. As previously mentioned, Tudis is a lost game, and thus information about it is hard to come by, much less a copy of the game itself. It's unknown how Tudis performed commercially, given that its pricing structure started at £399 with an additional charge of £4 per employee, plus a VAT of 17.5%, aka sales tax. This is all according to the Tudis order form. Point being, Tudis was not necessarily a cheap program. For example, if you wanted to purchase a copy and you had 30 employees, you'd pay around £610, or $820 in June 2025. Though, depending on the size and profit of your company, it's not a terrible price to pay for safety training. In addition to the base product, Maverick also offered the Bespoke Module package, which allowed a client to order a custom module to their own unique specifications. With this package, a customer would receive a recreation of their workplace, based on photographs of the real-life space and adorned with company branding. The questions and hazards, much like the environment itself, would also be made to the client's specification. There is no evidence suggesting any company actually purchased the Bespoke Module package. And given that the price of the package was removed on the website, it would indicate that its original price of £14,500, or nearly $20,000 was likely a price far too high for most companies. At some point following the initial release of Tudis, the game would receive a free 1.0.0.2 update, complete with a set of update notes on the website. However, the link of these notes is dead, and it is completely unknown as to what changes or features were added following release. Tudis would not have a very long life. Sometime between September and December of 2004, the game would be removed from Maverick's website, and by February 2005, WorkShield's website would also go down, officially ending a venture that lasted just over 2 years. Why Tudis went off sale is unknown, but I speculate it was due to a lack of sales. Tony Newton himself confirms this in part, stating that, from what I understand, Maverick never quite got it to a commercial product, which was a shame, as it had huge potential. It's unknown if Maverick had any other public ventures after 2004, but they would only last around 3 more years as an actual company until their dissolution on July 10th, 2007. Like many aspects of both Tudis and Maverick as a company, the reason for their closure would just be speculation. Beyond the commercial success of Tudis, Newton remarked in his interview with Valve Time that the projects they embarked on as a team in Maverick were often stressful and harmful to one's health. Redemption and Wanted and the whole Maverick developments thing took a huge toll on me, in terms of my health and sanity. We worked stupidly long hours to get Redemption done, and then lurched into Wanted and some other bits and pieces for Valve. The stresses and strains of that workload in trying to do another piece as good as Redemption and build the company into a functioning studio proved to be too much for all of us, and Maverick imploded under the strain. Tudis, as an idea, did not necessarily die with the closure of both WorkShield and Maverick, as Newton himself had developed a similar product following his departure, stating that, "I had a very clear vision for it, and actually built a second prototype using another engine with physics support shortly after leaving Maverick, but was unable to pursue it due to legal reasons." It's unknown if any copies of Tudis still exist. Based on the testimonial section of the product's website, we can assume that WorkShield likely did sell a number of copies, but whether any of the original CDs still exist remains to be seen. I tried to get in contact with Newton and other members of either WorkShield or Maverick, but neither effort proved to be fruitful. After all, this is a team that has been disbanded for at least 18 years. And even though I was able to track down a Maverick employee, I was unable to contact them. Tudis is very much an anomaly in the realm of the Source Engine. It stands to be a strange, yet really special use of the Source Engine that has yet to be replicated. Beyond the game itself, Maverick Developments as a studio is also somewhat of an anomaly. A company that evolved from making games in the Source Engine to tools and gamified learning. This is most apparent with Tudis, but also with Dive. or the Dismounted Infantry Virtual Environment. I won't go into much detail, mostly because there is effectively none. Dive was one of Maverick's other projects, a classified program made using the Gold Source engine for the Ministry of Defense in the United Kingdom, aka the British Army. Whatever the project actually was, Newton stated that it was probably one of the most fun and profitable projects we ever worked on as a team. That is a game I would also love to see, but probably never will. Tudis is inarguably one of the most unique projects ever made of the Source engine, which is what makes it all the more tragic that it isn't possible to obtain a copy. Frankly, the best you can hope for is that the game CD will show up on eBay or a random forum somewhere. If not just to release it to the public, but to at least preserve this extremely rare and unique Source game. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you not only enjoyed the video, but also found the topic as interesting as I did while I was researching it. I've known about Tudis for a few years now, and I was not expecting this to take up so much time and effort to actually research. So, if you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like. I would really appreciate the support. If you're curious about keeping up to date with all my projects, whether it be YouTube or otherwise, feel free to follow me on Blue Sky. I've got a few things I'm cooking up beyond YouTube videos, so if you care at all, give me a follow. Of course, as always, if you care to stay up to date with all of my video releases here on YouTube, then subscribe. As always, take care, and reach out to those in need.